Hello and welcome to iBuzz. I'm your host Nosheen Bukhari, bringing you the latest and the most exciting news from entertainment world. In today's episode, we will discuss a slight disappointment caused by Loki for the fans, followed by a discussion on how the music festivals can benefit the artists. But first things first, let me quickly take you to the top stories of the day. Candyman trailer reveals the disturbing origin story of the urban legend. Loki might be a hedonist, but so far Loki remains a bit of a bore. Tributes to Michael Jackson on his 12th death anniversary. Willow Smith confirms release dates for her new album, Lately I Feel Everything. And Blink 182 star Mark Hoppus reveals cancer diagnosis. And now moving to the top story of the day. The Marvel Disney Plus strategy of slowly building stories is becoming a bit of a bore, with the third episode of Loki a protracted escape scenario that gave fans lots of time to luxuriate in the little character and this new variant while doing precious little to advance the overarching plot. To have further discussion on this, we have filmmaker Maria Martino with us. Giulio, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So Giulio, Loki fans left outraged over pointless length of the new episode. Now, can this style of slow story building keep the viewership intact?
I personally think it's a good idea to release stories week by week instead of dumping them all in one go. And then, what tends to happen is people tend to binge watch. I think it's an interesting strategy to release them, as I say, week on week, because in a way it puts the storyteller back in control of the situation. And to me, there seems something unnatural about receiving 10 episodes of a show and then sitting down to watch them over a weekend or a couple of evenings and, until, tears are streaming from your eyes through trying to stay awake. I think it's much more interesting to strip them, week by week and allow the story to develop slowly and allow the audience's appreciation of the story to develop slowly and keep the anticipation going and also keep the word of mouth going about the show.
Yeah. And what is your personal take on this latest entry in the ever-expanding MCU, which is seemingly not very promising after the third episode? But as a filmmaker, what do you see? How do you see about this latest entry?
I think it's kind of interesting. I think that what's interesting regarding Loki is, unlike other superhero things, is that it's more in the vein of something like Doctor Who, where I think it might draw in other fans and other people that aren't necessarily interested in the Marvel Universe. This is something that can interest people that are approaching their television viewing, their cinema viewing from another direction. And so although it may not have all the, all the immediate pleasures of a 2.5-hour Marvel movie, it may actually draw in a wider audience in a different way, and also people that are repeat viewing for things like, they sort of tend to hide these sort of Easter eggs and things into the show and, all their shows in a way that I think it will draw in different people over time. I mean, such as, something like Doctor Who's, had a fan base that's going back sort of from the 1960s now. And I can see, obviously that's something to sort of only be dreamt of, but I can see Loki developing something of that kind of interest.
Right. And Giulio, can you talk about the understanding of timeline that is required to get a hang of Loki exclusively? Of course, timeline is very important in the entire MCU, but Loki has, you can say, a special connection with this timeline. Do you think it is the timeline that has complicated things for most of the viewers, especially the new viewers who were excited for this franchise, and hence they find the episodes pretty stretched?
Well, I think we've all been living in an alternate timeline for the past 15 months or so. I mean, the world's become a very strange place, and people often talk, just the word timeline is actually a word which has come into sort of, common speech now. And so I think that people are much more used to that kind of thing than they were 5-10 years ago. I think people are much more used to the idea of sort of multiverses and alternate realities, and you don't really have to understand the finer details of that to get the idea that this isn't the official timeline. These are alternate timelines, and I actually think whether we want it or not, in order for these franchises to continue, be they Marvel, DC, or Star Wars, things are getting so complicated that they're going to have to introduce these things anyway to sort of keep control of them. And so whether they like it or not, audiences are going to get more of this, I think, in the future.
True. And we all know that MCU is the next best thing since sliced bread, but the MTU, Marvel TV Universe, in your opinion, has it really brought in the masses much like their film counterparts have?
I think I was just looking this up, and I think Loki is the most watched of the 3 Marvel TV series. And I think that what Disney need to do is they need to get to something like 230, 250 million subscribers. And I think that's always a struggle because Netflix have been saying we need to get that for a while, and they're not there yet. But I think that of all their brands, Marvel is, I think, the best step for Disney. I think it's a much more coherent and rich universe than Star Wars. And so really, I think that they're going to funnel everything they can into this. I think they're going to really play all their cards on this because it's really their best choice of getting as many subscribers as possible. And, what they're clearly doing is saying, if you want to get the complete experience, the complete Marvel experience, you have to watch the films, you have to watch the TV shows, and then you have to sort of go back and watch them all again to sort of get all the hidden messages and the hidden Easter eggs in them in order to get a full experience. And it's really a remarkable achievement what they've done so far with that, and if they manage to do it fully. So it's a big question mark over all of that, but I think it's their best chance of achieving something like that.
Right. And with Tom Hiddleston masterfully portraying the character not only romantically, naturally, but his intellect, his motivations, his character development and arch that we have seen in Thor, Ragnarok, and Avengers Infinity War. They're amazing. I mean, do you see the strength of the character in Loki? Will that grow more in the episodes that are upcoming? Or do you expect that, there's going to be a monotony because of the fact that the 3rd episode has created a lot of disappointment among the fans? So the viewership can be compromised. So do you think that the character development is something that can bring them their hopes back?
Yeah, I think there's every chance that it can. Nothing's certain, and there's only been 3 episodes released so far, and it may be that they don't achieve, what people are hoping for with that. But I think there's every chance that they will. I'd also say that with a TV series, there is more time to explore other avenues, other facets of his character and other facets of others' characters. And what's sort of unique about this series, in a way that's actually quite similar to Doctor Who, is that going forward, they don't actually need to stay with Tom Hiddleston if they don't want to. They've started to bring up the idea of variants. And in future series, should Tom Hiddleston not want to return? And I think that's entirely will be his choice. I don't think they would, the idea of replacing him would be something that would come from anywhere else. They can go with other variants of him. They've already introduced one, and there's no reason why someone else couldn't take up that mantle in future series. And it may actually be a really interesting thing to do, either be that a tangent within a series or a whole series in of itself.
Right, and the addition of Lady Loki was very much criticized. Many critics, including fans, they said that it was an unnecessary addition to the series. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I don't see that at all. I think it's probably a really good idea. There needs to be a strong antagonist in a drama for it to work. And the twist here is that the strong antagonist is another version of himself. And so that allows for further character development and further world building, from within the Loki character. But also, it allows for, a very interesting antagonist as well. So I think it's all to be seen with that, but I think it has potential to go much further.
Right. And Julia, let us talk about how the series started off comparatively. The first 2 episodes were met with a great enthusiasm. Loki's first episode finds a startling new way to create sympathy for the devil. So in your opinion, of course, we already discussed the third episode, that it had a bit of a stretched and boring element. But what is your take on the first two episodes?
Well, I think the first two episodes are always going to be, I mean, this is the case of almost any American TV series I've seen, in that the first couple of episodes really are very exciting and very thrilling. And then the third episode, there appears to be a bit of a dip. And, you know, from The Sopranos to 24, you know, Mad Men, all of them, I get the sense once you get past the first few episodes, first 2 or 3 episodes, there is always a bit of a dip. And the first 2 episodes are usually the ones that are sort of, you know, packed full of all the sort of exciting, sort of, you know, dramatic introductions they can think of in order to sort of hook in the viewer. And then the storytellers have the job of actually telling the story and developing the story. And it's, you know, there are structural obligations that the filmmakers have that unfortunately they've just then got to, you know, go through certain steps. And so the first 2 episodes of almost any series I can name are usually the ones that will hook the viewer in, and I think that's what's happened here.
Right. And what is your take on Owen Wilson's character? Do you think this addition is actually complementing Loki's existence and the series itself?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very entertaining and pleasurable actor to watch. He's noticeably older here than I've seen him before in a while. And that's just an interesting thing in itself. I mean, he's one of these people that always carries his personality into the roles he's playing. And it's just very pleasurable to see him in this kind of world. As I said with the Tom Hiddleston character, there's always the option, you know, as the series goes along, you know, as the episodes go along, but as the subsequent series happens, they can always introduce a new handler. He plays Loki's sort of handler in this. They can always introduce a new one, you know, should they need to for any reason. But for the time being, I think he's a very sort of enjoyable person to watch on screen. And he's sort of, you know, to a certain extent, his laid back, inquisitive manner complements, you know, Loki's sort of manicness quite well.
Right, right. Giulio, a wonderful discussion. Thank you very much indeed for being with us.
Thanks very much.
That was Giulio Maria Martino with his thoughts on the new episode of Loki. And now moving to other story details of the day. A new trailer for the Candyman remake uncovers the horrifying origin story of the urban legend. Directed by Nia DaCosta from a script by Jordan Pillay, Wynn Rosenfeld and DaCosta, Candyman stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Tiona Paris, Nathan Stewart, and Tony Todd. The film arrives in theaters on August 27th. 12 years ago today, the world lost a gifted artist and an extraordinary humanitarian, Michael Jackson, on 25th June. The death of Jackson was a massive cultural phenomenon, bringing an outpouring of public affection and revival of his songs and largely erasing the taint that remained after his criminal trial despite his acquittal. As a tribute to the king of pop, singing sensation Somita Saha announced her 4th virtual solo exhibition envisaging Michael. Willow Smith has confirmed the release date of her forthcoming new album called Lately I Feel Everything, the follow-up to 2020's The Anxiety, which was a collaborative record with Tyler Cole. Under the moniker The Anxiety has already been previewed with the Travis Barker collaboration Transparent Soul, which came out back in April. Posting on Instagram, Willow confirmed that her new album Lately I Feel Everything will be released on July 16th. Blink-182 frontman and bassist Mark Hoppus has revealed he is undergoing chemotherapy treatment for cancer. The 49-year-old Californian shared the news via social media. Hoppus did not disclose which form of cancer he had, but told fans he had been undergoing treatment from the past 3 months. That is it from our newsroom. We will be right back after a quick short break to discuss how artists can benefit from Music Festival. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In this segment, we will discuss how music festivals can benefit the artists. Every performing artist dreams of headlining their own cross-country stadium tour. But to build the popularity to get that point, or for those who are already there, music festivals are an incredible and often undervalued driver of both exposure and income. To discuss this further, we have producer and festival director Zeejah Fazli with us. Zeejah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So Zeejah, when we talk about festivals, exclusively music festivals, what benefits do we mean for the artists?
So it depends what kind of benefits are we talking about. As you said, that benefit in terms of income or exposure. I think it's not only that, benefit in terms of experience is also very important. I won't say that there is much benefit in income because festivals are about celebrating communities, celebrating life, the festivities, and so it is not only about making money for the artist. It's about celebrating life, communities, and being one with all the other fellow musicians, sharing the same stage and sharing different various genres. So it's not just for example, a rock festival. It's not just an EDM festival. The kind of festivals I'm into, it's a very diverse platform, which has music from the indigenous artists as well as the mainstream artists, as well as the emerging artists, and a wide spectrum of genres, including rap, rock, name anything, all these genres. So the benefit is sharing the same stage, sharing the same experience. And in my opinion, it's not only making money for the artists when it comes to festivals. Yeah, when they're performing live, one-off, which means that if it is just a concert for themselves, just one-off, show, then it is about making money for them. But if it is a platform which has all the artists together, then it should not be really. The artist should not think about making money. It would benefit the artist in many other ways. It would benefit the artist in being connected with different various other audiences, which are not there, maybe fan followers. They would come across, for example, a rock artist will come across an EDM fan on a festival, and then maybe have a recognition amongst a different new audience. So it is that kind of benefit also.
Right.
So in my opinion, it's not just income and exposure. It is much more than that.
Right.
And which is experiencing different audiences.
So Zeejah, it is also observed that when mainstream artists are involved in the festivals, it adds more power to the event itself. But now we see that most of the mainstream artists, they do not choose to do that. Rather, they focus on the individual concerts. What are the possible reasons behind that?
See, there are two kinds of festivals in my opinion. I would call one kind as the bottled festival.
The commercial
the commercial
yes.
corporate festivals who can afford mainstream artists. And then yes, Atif Aslam is sometimes there, and all the big names are there, who are very expensive. But there is a branded festival that is like a bottle. I remember, what was this Portuguese sportsman who was removing the Coca-Cola bottles from his table. The festivals have been so much commercialized from one point of view. But from the other point of view, it should not be so. It's not about selling bottles. It's not about, selling the brand in the front. It's about celebrating life. It's about celebrating the communities and different genres, and so
promoting the talent as well.
And the talent, yeah, the emerging talent and all. So when somebody is doing that kind of a festival where there are no big brands behind, then the affordability is not there, and so the mainstream artists cannot be there. But then yes, there are other festivals where the mainstream artists are there. So I won't say that they don't come to the festivals. They will come to the festivals. They do come to the festivals where they get their money. But in Pakistan, I'd say there are both kinds going on. There are one corporate festival, and there are others which are more community-based. And so in the community-based ones, you probably won't see the mainstream acts because it's not affordable. For myself, like I've been, struggling hard to get money in and to be able to afford the mainstream artists. And I would ask them that, hey, please, could you lower your your prices, so that if you come and there are hundreds of other artists are sharing the same stage, and you cannot imagine the amount of encouragement and the amount of exposure and giving back to the community thought that you're giving to your fellow musicians. That is immense. And so the mainstream artists should recognize, in the West and in everywhere else that I've traveled to, some of the festivals don't even pay any artist. I mean, for example, South by Southwest in US, they don't pay any artist any fee. I mean, you have to come on your own, you have to perform without any cost, and then mainstream artists like chain smokers and anyone, so I mean, they come and perform there. And they travel all around, from all around the world,
on their own expenses.
There, on their own expenses, because it's a platform where all the talented musicians are there. Sometimes they're not recognized, and sometimes they're recognized. All the press is there, the media is there. Even the president of the United States made a keynote speech over there. So for these kind of festivals, the mainstream artists should recognize that it's not about the money. They make money, good amount of money in their other concerts, but there's just one chance in a year where the mainstream artist should say, enough of making money this time around. He or she should share the stage with their fellow musicians so that they can be encouraged. And maybe, I mean, in Pakistan, it's not that they should not have any money. They should have subsidized fee for festivals. So that is a general norm all across the world. So why not in Pakistan?
Right. And Zeejah, being in the industry for more than a decade, you being a music festival director, tell us what makes a music festival successful.
Wow, tough question. But you see, in my opinion, I've been directing festivals that has diversity in it, both regional diversity, gender diversity, economic diversity, exposure diversity, like somebody's mainstream, somebody's emerging and all. So I won't say that it is a successful formula, but it is your own. That's why you're a director, because you conceive a certain thing and then you direct a festival. And it's not all about making it successful. It's about an idea. There are like EDM festivals, there are rock festivals, there are different genres, crazy festivals, non-crazy festivals. I mean, it's not about that this is the formula to make it successful. It's about touching those parts of the communities which can bring everyone together. And because festivals, in my opinion, is not number one, money-making venture, and number two, being known or recognized kind of a venture or exposure venture for the director. It is about making it happen that can make a change, a positive change in the communities and the society. So in my opinion, the biggest success for any festival is to bring everyone together at one common platform where they can celebrate life, they can interact with each other.
Right.
And it's not about that you're going there for electronic music or you're going there for rock music. It's you're there to celebrate life, and that is the biggest success. It's not about making money or anything like that.
Right. Zeejah, thank you very much indeed for being with us. That was Zeejah Fazli with his thoughts on how the artists can benefit from music festivals. And that is it from today's episode. We hope you liked it. Don't forget to share your feedback on the social media link mentioned down below. We'll see you next time with some more fresh content. Until then, take care and goodbye.